Hello, my name is Deborah Morrell. I chose to do my video presentation on Karl Marx. Karl Marx was born in Trier on May 5th, 1818, born to a distinguished lawyer, Heinrich Marx, a descendant of rabbis, and a wealthy Dutch woman, Henrietta Marx. He was the third of 9 children. Heinrich, a Jew, became a Protestant to advance his legal profession while he was in Perugia. Marx had a mixed childhood of poverty and wealth. Despite his middle-class lifestyle, his Jewish origin caused social and legal prejudice. Marx's father taught him at home his early lessons to ensure all his children's education. Marx entered Trier Gymnasium in 1830 and excelled academically while loving poetry and literature. Marx followed his father to Bonn to study law. After graduating from gymnasium in 1835, Marx had a troubled personal life. He got ordinary grades while at Bonn, and for some reason he just started drinking and then getting into fights. So his father sent him to Berlin University in about 1836, and due to his behavior. But while in Berlin was where Marx completely formulated his theory. He read Hegel and other German philosophers while studying law and philosophy. Marx subsequent historical materialism was influenced by Hegel's dialectic. Marx befriended the young Hegelians, radical philosophers who criticized Hegel's conservative followers in Berlin. Marx became a socialist and communist after criticizing capitalism and bourgeois society. Despite financial problems and university disputes, Marx completed his Epicurus related PhD dissertation in 1841. Marx's academic success gave openings to academia, but he chose journalism and revolutionary action, which prepared him for his later political theory and economic contributions. Industrialization driven urban migrants generated overpopulation and social turmoil. This is what shaped Marx's worldview. So the urban proletariat, a class of industrial workers alienated and exploited in capitalism, was Marx's vision. So Marx was further convinced by this experience that the working class had revolutionary potential and that capitalism had to be abolished. So otherwise, workers were being taken advantage of by the businesses and at their jobs and stuff, by media, and the government were just totally taking advantage of the workers. So he felt that capitalism should be abolished. So Marx was influenced by modern philosophy, and particularly Hegel's dialectical approach, which underlined his history and social dynamic conflicts, gave Marx a theatrical framework. Hegel's dialectic inspired Marx historical materialism, which he used to investigate class conflict and capitalist exploitation. Marx actively joined various socialist revolutionary movements. He joined Europe's democratic and socialist upheaval after the 1848 revolution. In his journalism and political activism, Marx witnessed class struggles and state repression, which modeled his revolutionary views. Marx suffered political persecution and exile for his revolutionary work. In Paris, Brussels, and London, he worked with Friedrich Engels, and other socialist philosophers. Exile affected Marx's conception of the fight against capitalism as a global phenomenon. Karl Marx established a core idea and principle of communism as a socio-political philosophy, advancing communist theory. Marx developed historical materialism, which points that class strife and production conditions shape human civilization. Marx believed history proceeds through social classes, dialectical conflict and resolution. Marx criticized capitalism and predicted communism as the next stage of history based on this theory. So Marx's communism is based on his critique of capitalism. Marx examined the exploitative and inherent contradictions of capitalism in one of his greatest writings, Das Kapital. Excuse my accent, but I try. But he stressed how capitalism concentrates money and power in the hands of bourgeois or capitalist class, causing alienation, inequality, and economic crisis for the proletariats. So Marx popularized surplus values, the difference between labor values and remuneration. Marx believed that the capitalist class profit by underpaying workers and taking surplus value. This theory illuminates Marx's critique of capitalism-based exploitation and supports his call to ban private ownership of the means of production. So Marx saw class struggles throughout history led to revolution. He believed that the proletariat will overthrow capitalism and establish a proletarian dictatorship. This transitional stage would include common ownership of the means of production and the construction of a socialist society to achieve communism, a stateless, classless society. So Marx and Engels wrote the Communist Manifesto in 1848. That became a landmark political document, a very, very important document. Marx and Engels' manifesto called for the destruction of bourgeois rule and the creation of a social society based on shared ownership of the means of production. The manifesto, which outlines the communist cause, has inspired generations and generations of revolutionaries worldwide. So Karl Marx's theatrical contribution shaped communism, a social political rise, and still impact capitalism, socialism, and class conflict. So Communist Ideas in Modern America by Marx. So the continuous issues of whether Karl Marx communism is relevant in modern America is still controversial to this very day. Marx critique of capitalism, which emphasizes class struggles, exploitation, and alienation, resonates with many Americans, especially those wary of the growing wealth gap, corporate control, and economic injustice in the United States. Problems include stagnant wages, rising living costs, inflation, and the wealth concentration in the top 1% have revived Marx's critique of capitalism as unfair and unsustainable. Politicians such as Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, who want Medicare for all, free public college tuition, and increased tax on the wealthy are examples of socialist ideals and movements that have revived in American politics. Though not Marxist, these views represent a growing demand for alternatives to uncontrolled capitalism and are based on socialist social welfare and economic redistributions. Some Americans find Marxist ideas appealing, yet communism is different to implement in the country. Individualism, private property rights, and free market under the nation's well-rooted capitalism systems make socialist or communist societies difficult to create. It's almost impossible with the amount of capitalism that's going on today in the United States. But the Cold War legacy and anti-communism sentiment in American culture have tarnished Marxism, Marxist idea, and hindered their popularity. So some prominent believe Marxist theories of communism may be adapted and integrated with socialist policy and democratic institutions to address present concern. Instead of overthrowing capitalism, this method promotes workers' cooperative, progressive taxation for wealth redistribution, universal basic income, and more social welfare programs. Liberal Democrats, prominent, believe Marxist theory, democratic values, and practical policy solutions can create a more just and equal society. Whether Marx communism has a place in modern America culture is still debated. Some consider Marxism as outdated or unrealistic, whereas others see it as an inspiration to imagine new alternatives and oppose the system. Marxist theory's benefits will likely be debated as long as social and economic inequalities persist and new crises developed, echoing bigger discussions about American cultures and world politics. So it's something, it's going to be a topic for far into the future. And I just thought that I would read this quote by Karl Marx, and it says, "The meaning of peace is the absence of opposition to socialism." I thought that was interesting. And then I also thought I'd share this too, and this was, what is Marxism? The question, what is Marxism? Is not as straightforward as it appears. There are different ways of answering it. One can study and describe what Marx himself wrote and said, but Marx's views changed. And Marxism has had a life beyond Marx. Some try to define Marxism by specifying an agreed core of doctrine, other its methods, or by its practical commitment. Each of the definitions capture an aspect of nature of Marxism, but none is without problem. Controversy still rage about Marx's legacy and its contemporary significance, and that's Sawyer S. 2021. So that's my video report on Karl Marx. Interesting guy, but keep it short, and that's it. Thank you.